Hey, everybody. Welcome to Making Connections with your girl, Aly. That is me. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day wherever you are, whether you're listening in the morning, afternoon, evening. We welcome you to the show. So glad you could be with us. And I'm excited. You guys know I'm just going to say go to the page, all those flyers that you saw, they're on the Making Connections page because there's all kinds of good stuff going on in the community. People are, there's the fresh market that happens every Tuesday. There's karaoke. If you need your car detailed, there's all kinds of stuff. People helping the homeless, people getting supplies for school, going back to school, all kinds of things. So if you need help or you want to help, there's an opportunity. And so, hey, Keisha.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, I'm wonderful. I was grooving to Time to Make a Connection.
Yes. And we have our good friend Marlene to thank for that because he always does our music and he does us right.
Yeah.
He knows the show and he knows what we're about. And so he hooks it up. So that's Polyphonic Studios. You can look them up.
I
And
will. It's a great intro.
thank you. So, how are you doing today? You look so pretty.
Thank you. I am doing fabulous. I am being fabulous. How are you being today?
I'm being great. I love to talk to Keisha because, I say stuff about myself that I don't usually say. And she reminds me, why are you not saying it when I'm not around? So, I want you guys, if you got laundry, if you got dishes, whatever, just leave it. It'll be there when you get back. Sit down, listen to this interview, get this good stuff, and then apply it to your life because it's good. And so, Keisha, in case this somebody hasn't seen you on the show before and doesn't know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, sure. I am Keisha Dixon. I am a single mother of 6, grandmother of 4, and 3 years ago, I leapt from my executive corporate position at a corporate law firm to become a transformational wealth coach, and I guide other female coaches to double or more their income doing what they love, and I can now say I am a published author.
Woo-hoo. Yes. Awesome. So before we get into the book, because the book is called Intention, and we're going to be talking about the power of intention.
Awesome.
And gosh, just saying it, it's like something is happening. My body's heating up.
Yes,
But I'm
ma'am.
excited about that. But, before we get into that, let's go back a little bit. Now, you
Okay.
were at a corporate law firm
Yes.
making good money,
I was making buku bucks.
and you left it?
I did. I left it. It's so interesting because leading up to my departure, for the previous year, a whole year, the job was great, blessing on paper, and I was really remarkable at it. And for a year, I felt like I was in a pressure pot of, I know there's something else that I'm supposed to be doing right now that I feel led to do. And I was so scared, Aly, to make that corporate leap from the security of the corporate paycheck. I was getting paid monthly, but it was, it was a high 6-figure job. And I was afraid to leave the safety and security of that. And it took me a year to get to the point where one morning I woke up and I knew in every cell of my being that I deserved happy. I didn't just think it. I knew it. Like I know my name is Keisha. I know my name is Keisha. Regardless of what anyone else calls me or happens to call me, I know that my name is Keisha. And that morning when I woke up, every cell in my being knew that I deserved to be happy. And in that moment, I left my job. I not only burned the bridge, I burned the boat. And I officially opened up my coaching practice. Leading up until then, I had coaching clients here and there, but it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't an income that could sustain my up until that point lifestyle. but I took the leap. I took the leap. And about a week later, my coaching calendar was full. I
Wow.
created the space. I knew what I deserved. I knew what I deserved, and everything fell into place.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah.
is so amazing. And I know there are listeners out there who are like me, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling that too. I'm feeling that struggle. I mean, I'm in a good place. I know how to do my job, but it's just, I mean, I don't feel like I'm really helping anybody. I don't feel like I'm really making an impact. Oh my gosh. And I know what you're saying is resonating with them. And so, what would be some steps though, even if they feel like they're ready to go now? I know you jumped into it. Would you suggest what would you suggest for somebody else that's having that feeling though?
Well, first, just know that, and I'm going to borrow a phrase I heard this weekend. Just know when you're feeling that, oh, there's a struggle, or feeling that fear, that you're behind enemy lines at that point. And the enemy line is not the job. The enemy line is internal,
Mm,
right? Because as I heard you just say, but I don't feel like I'm making an impact. You're making an impact. Your presence makes an impact, whether you're in corporate or on your podcast or on another platform. Your very presence makes an impact. So you
mm,
want to come out from behind the enemy line of less than, I'm not making an impact in this case, and come out in front on that battlefield like, oh no, I am making an impact. And what would feel even better than this? Where else do I want to make an impact? Who else do I want to impact? So it's recognizing who you are, who you be, right? In any circumstance, because external circumstances can never dictate who you are, your beingness.
mm-hmm,
Expressing gratitude for who you are in that beingness, and feeling into, and what would feel even better than this?
mm.
What, yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, okay. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be just so good, y'all. I'm just like, I'm be on replay myself about 3 or 4 times. I can already tell. So you became a transformational wealth coach.
Yes.
So what does I mean? I hear those words and I understand those words, but what does that really mean?
Yeah, for me, right now in this moment, it means I guide women to go from $50,000 years to $50,000 months, doing what they love without doing all of the things, by simply being themselves and tapping into their genius. My program is called Monetize Your Mind. So, and by mind, I don't just mean the brain, but I mean your heart. Like, ooh, just connecting the two and tapping into the genius that is within you and monetizing on that in a way that doesn't have to involve funnels and complications and making it hard. But having the means to receive the amount of money that you desire in order to live the life that you crave. So that's what I mean by transformational wealth coach. I got into that because, and you find this with a lot of coaches, but I'll speak for me. I got into that because, as I said earlier, I was making high six figures in my corporate job, and I constantly struggled with, I had so much money drama. It was, well,
Yeah.
not to be too judgmental, it was crazy. And I knew, being a personal development junkie, I knew that something else was going on. And it was like my blind spot. I couldn't see it because I was really experiencing monetary struggles, even with this high corporate paycheck. And interestingly enough, while I was struggling to make ends meet for myself, pay my own bills, I had gone into pre-foreclosure mode on more than one occasion. I was also paying other people's bills. I paid
Hmm.
somebody's rent for an entire year while I was in pre-foreclosure.
Oh wow.
I was funding other people's vacations, even though I was working like 60, 70 hours a week, always online or in person at the office. Um, and I hadn't taken a vacation of my own, and I was sending people on cruise ships. My boundaries were non-existent. I
Mm,
couldn't even think of holding a boundary. I couldn't think of
Mm-hmm.
setting a boundary, let alone holding a boundary. So I sought the assistance of a wealth therapist, and it was through that work, working with her, that I was like, oh, I need, not only do I want to, I desire to show this to other people, because I know that I knew I couldn't have been alone. I wasn't alone in this. Even though while
Absolutely.
I was struggling, it felt like I was very much alone.
Right. And amen. I know
Hmm.
somebody else is saying, oh, yeah, I do that too. Why do I
Yeah.
do that? And sometimes, even in the middle of it, you're like, why what's going on here?
Yeah.
But you just, it's like you can't pull that string back. It's like you don't. And I think sometimes too, we're afraid that what if I try to pull it and it breaks?
Right. What if,
Oh,
right. Because I talk about um, the lack matrix and the abundance matrix a lot. And a lot of our programming, which in our conditioning, which happens from the time we leave the birth canal and we enter this lack matrix, is to take away, to take away, to take away, that there's never enough. It's all about toil and trouble and struggle, and money doesn't grow on trees. And it's breaking those paradigms. Some people would call them generational curses. Breaking those paradigms, those patterns, those generational curses, that actually frees us and liberates us and allows us to really have our eyes open and see abundance is all around us. And we're manifesting all the time. We're either manifesting consciously or unconsciously. But abundance is all around us. And when your eyes are open, all of a sudden it's a miracle. Everything starts to become a miracle, and what you see presented before you in your 3D reality suddenly becomes miraculous.
mm.
Yeah.
I am just excited about this because I just feel like that when people are hearing this information, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how to put it in words. I really didn't know what was happening. I didn't know, I couldn't understand. But like you said, it's those paradigms, and even the fact that, we have talked before that, when you come from a family and you haven't really seen a lot of multimillionaires,
Right.
not even a lot of business owners. I mean, we have really smart people that we have in our families, but you just don't see them go out of the norm. You see them excel in that job within that restraints that they're given by their bosses. But there's still a cap on who they are and who they can be. And when you're sitting on the front porch talking to them, you're like, well, why don't you create that? Well, why don't you start this business? You know what I'm saying? But we
Yes.
never do. And so we just can continue to follow that pattern, because who are we to break the pattern, to shift that paradigm?
It's so interesting because a few minutes ago I had said, yeah, from the moment we leave the birth canal, we've entered this lack matrix. That's because our nervous system is picking up on our parents, what's going on with their money stories, right? And we're picking up on it energetically. And so when we first come out of the birth canal, we really only have two questions. Am I safe? And do I belong with this family?
Mm,
And one way that we adapt, because nobody asked for this programming, one way that we adapt and answer the question of, do I belong in this family, is we take on their money stories. Now, if we're doing this from a tender age of, let's say, 3 or 4 years old, it just feels normal. It doesn't feel, the struggle feels normal. And even though it might be incredibly uncomfortable, it brings us the comfort of, well, at least I belong. I
mm,
know this story. I know how this story plays out. I've seen it, and I've been told this story time and time and time again. I know what to expect. And our ego and our subconscious mind loves to know what to expect.
right.
Right.
And that I can't remember how that phrase went. I just heard it recently. Somebody said, but basically it's saying, if of the two choices you have, choose the one at least you know what's going to happen, you know how this person is going to treat you. If you try to branch out into a new group of friends, you don't know them yet, you don't know what's going to happen, but this person might be a little inconsistent, but at least 30% of the time they'll show up for you. But is that enough, y'all? Is that enough?
Right. And that's the curiosity and wonder. Is that enough? As you were talking, I can guarantee you that there were people nodding along in agreement, like, yep, yep, who wants to jump out of the frying pan and into the fire? And the reason that we nod in agreement is it's our subconscious mind. And I try to be I still do it. And I try to be very aware of what I allow my body to come into agreement to. Even that nodding is
Mm.
a level of agreement. Our subconscious mind takes everything personally. So when we hear this,
Oh.
when we hear someone saying, um, even if it's in the next room, or in our sleep, when we hear someone saying, you don't want to jump out of the frying pan and into the fire, our subconscious is like, yep, yep, nope, we're going to limit you right here. Stay exactly where you are. My prime directive is to keep you alive. So yes,
Mm.
come into agreement with this. And that's why I choose to be very intentional with my language, which is not to say that I don't fall into old habits, but as soon as I notice it, I'm like, "Oop, what, how can I rephrase that? What world, what reality do I choose to create with my worlds?"
Wow. And you do that, and it always, I always tell you, oh wow, that's you said the same thing I said, but you said it like that, or you said what I intended to say, but this, and so I think it's so important that we have to be careful what we say. Um, like you said, even when you're around a group of people, and you may not feel the same way they do, but you're in that group and they're saying what they're saying, it's still getting in your spirit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
especially if you're not speaking against it, saying, well, I don't agree with that.
Yes, and for people who are, I'm an introvert, and I used to identify as shy. I don't identify as shy anymore. But when I identified as shy, and I was in groups of people, and I had this knowing that, oh, I don't want to come into agreement with what they're saying. There are ways that you can just like, oh, is that really true internally? You don't even have to say it out loud. You don't
Mm.
have to be weird about it. or
Thank
even
you.
or even confrontational, but I just make a mental note, like, yeah, I'm not receiving that's not for me.
Oh, wow. See,
Hmm.
there's so many. Keisha is amazing. She
Thank
knows
you.
so many things to, be able to keep yourself protected, because right now, say you're in still on that job and there's a lot of things happening that you don't want to receive. There are so many tips that she can give, so many ways that she can guide you that you can still stay above that. And so, I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you're listening to this and you need some help, you need to reach out to Keisha, have a consultation, just sit down and have a conversation, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and like Keisha brought somebody else to me one time, Alexis.
Alexis
They were
Spears,
talking
yes.
about the trauma that you hold in your body. And I was just like, I was all over the place. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Because you don't realize this is why we need to know things. This is why we need to break out of our shell. This is why we need to, you know, you 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 have to listen to different things, and you don't have to agree with everything, but it's good to be able to have different options, because you don't realize you're holding trauma. Um, we were doing something, I can't even remember what it was, and the person said, "Make sure you're breathing," and I was like, I didn't even realize I was holding my breath during
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
So, can you talk a little bit about that and the intention of why we need to, be aware?
Yeah. Yeah. So you just talked about, oh, we're holding trauma. A lot of times people think of trauma as big T trauma, and it can be a little T trauma. It can be as simple as being reprimanded in front of your classmates, and that particular situation you were called upon, your body took it on as a trauma, and now it presents itself as holding your breath whenever you feel like, oh, they're going to call on me, making your making yourself smaller, feeling like you can't approach somebody, or if you're at the boardroom, you can't speak up and call attention to yourself. That's a trauma response to
Mm.
something that occurred early on in childhood. So once you're aware of, and for me, I am very aware of what's happening in my body. Um, Once you're aware, oh, I'm feeling a tightness in my jaw, or oh, my breathing is very shallow.
Right.
Focus your attention on it. And I ask this very strange question of my clients when they say they have a backache or their jaw's tight or they have a migraine. Well, what would your back be saying right now if it could speak? And whatever comes out is exactly what your back is saying, even if it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And with that information, you're actually able to alleviate the sensations that you're feeling because message received. The back no longer needs to signal out, I don't feel supported. I'm never supported. Why me? This always happens to me. I've received the message. Then you get to do things like clear that message and reframe that message, and open your eyes to a new possibility.
Mm. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
And this even goes back to the show on Monday where we were talking about being intentional about, what you put in your body, and what you put on your body, and it being as pure as it can be. You know what I'm saying? We're still
Yeah.
going through a process, but when you have those headaches, when you have, everybody might have a bad day, a rough day where you just take it to bed with you. You can't sleep really well. But if you're having days, weeks where you're not sleeping well, is something more that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having weeks or days where you're not sleeping well, what needs to be addressed is your peace, right? Because it's
Mm.
not really about the sleep, it's about your
Right,
peace.
right, right. And so, gosh, we're just creating new people. I feel like we're breaking all these molds. You don't have to eat the same thing your family has eaten for the past 20 years.
Right.
You don't have to go on vacation the same place. I mean, come on. It's about you, and it's about how you were created and what you have to offer. Maybe if you don't go to the beach, but you go to the mountains and it's really quiet and you sit there, all of a sudden your creativity flows. Maybe for
Hmm.
somebody else, they're at the water and being in the water and feeling that flow already helps their creativity flow. So we really have to tap into what we have to be intentional
Yes.
about what makes us, what's the word I should end with, whole or or motivated or what?
I feel like we're already whole, whether we recognize it or not. I feel like the word to tap into is intentional. I feel intention, right? Because whether we're going through our days intentionally or unintentionally, we're still manifesting based on our intentional focus or our unconscious unintentional focus. So for me, intention, or being intentional, means that the intention that I set for the day is my focused and guiding principle for the day of how I want to live, how I want to feel, how I want to be, and how I choose to be internally. That influences my external circumstances.
And I was just thinking too about with the transformational wealth coach. Waking up that day and saying, I am going to intentionally seek out 5 clients, 5 new
Hmm.
clients.
Hmm.
I'm going to intentionally speak to 20 people today because I know I need $10,000, you know, in my budget today. And so Yeah, let's continue to talk about the power of intention and how it
Mm-hmm.
really affects and changes the outcome of everything that's in your life.
Yeah, so the intention that you set is the guiding. For me, it's the guiding principle of the day, right? It's that foundation. It's the springboard that creates the blueprint for my actions to be in alignment with what I intend to be in any given moment. So, what I heard was an intention and a goal. I intend to onboard 5 new clients today. There's a very specific number. That's the goal, and the intention in that case is to be open to receive new clients,
Mhm.
right? From that, okay, as I go throughout my day, what's my energy like? Am I open or am I closed? Am
Mhm.
I showing up for myself or am I shrinking? Right? And by showing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to post 50 times a day, right? Or show up on 100 podcasts within a month.
Right.
Where are my thoughts? My intention is open to receive and onboard new clients. Where are my thoughts going? Am I worried about how I'm going to pay the rent in 10 days? Or am I confident that all of my needs will be met? You see how even my body language,
Yeah.
and that's not even, that honestly, that wasn't conscious because our subconscious is running all the time. But when I said those words, it quickened my spirit and it brought life to my body. Um, let's see. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right, because a lot of times, and I'm just gonna, y'all, I'm always talking about myself, nobody else. Sometimes I will wake up and I'll be like, okay, I am going to talk to 10 people today. I'm going to present the opportunity to 10 people. And I'll be in the store, and this person might come by, and I'll be like, oh, and I'll hear, like you said, overhear a little conversation, overhear a couple words that gets my attention. Whereas, 20 other people pass me by and I didn't even notice. And I'll be prompted, but then that fear is like, whew, what
Mm-hmm.
if they say no? Well, mm,
Okay.
I said 10
So,
people, but she's not one of them.
okay. So the 10 people, talking to 10 people is a goal. What's the intention behind that? How do you want to, how do you, what do you, the 10 people is the outcome. What are you looking for in feeling and being to get to that outcome?
Okay,
Let's
so
start there.
I'm talking to 10 people so that I can get 5 clients.
Okay, and again, the get the 5 clients, that's the outcome. That again is an outcome. Why? I'm going to
Um,
ask you why.
okay, to increase my monthly income, to increase what I receive in my household for this week.
That's the intention.
Okay.
I intend to increase my amount of something along these lines. Certainly use your own words. I intend to increase my receiving this week.
Mm,
Now, from that intention, your aligned action is, which means I'm going to open up my mouth and say something to 10 people, which means based on my conversion rate, I'm going to sign on 5 new clients. I intend to receive more money in my household this week is the North Compass. That's your that's your guiding principle for the day. When
okay.
when it when it's your goal to talk to 10 people and your goal to sign up 5 clients in the day or in the week.
Okay.
So when that fear comes, because being courageous doesn't mean that the fear doesn't exist. Being courageous means the fear does exist. So when that fear, so when that fear comes, when you're in the grocery store and you see a woman who um, is about to pay for her groceries and you're too afraid to talk to her, that's when you get to stop, observe without judgment, say something like, "That's interesting. I intend to increase the amount of income in my household, and I'm observing that I'm afraid to do so." Now you have a choice. Now rather than it being an unconscious event that just slips by, and the fear has won because you were behind enemy lines, internal enemy lines, because I'm sure the woman at the grocery store is not going to attack you.
Right.
So the enemy lines were literally inside. You've made a decision, right?
Okay.
If you let that opportunity go by, you've made a decision. And my intention is not going to guide me right now. Or you can decide to open up your mouth and say something and allow your intention to be that guiding principle for the day.
And it's so funny because really, even in saying I need to speak with 10 people to get 5 clients, I already know that there's a possibility that 5 are going to say no. But just actually hearing it is like, you know what I mean?
And I do know what you mean. And there is a possibility that 10 will say yes. And there's a possibility that 10 will give me referrals to 10 more who say yes. All of these are beliefs. I mean, and we form our own beliefs, our own limitations all the time. It just feels so normal and so natural, especially on the online world. Because I work with a lot of coaches, there's a belief that in order to onboard high-end clients, for your high-ticket offer, you need to have a 40-minute discovery call or whatever people call it. And it's a belief. And the moment you change your belief, you can have something different. You can do it through DM, or people can just come to you in your email like, I heard you on this podcast and I have to work with you, Keisha. That's a belief too.
Right.
And our beliefs, the limitations that we put on ourselves, they're only going to be as true as how much we believe them.
Mm. Okay, so what I hear is that I need to concentrate on my intention. What was my intention? What did I set my intention to be that day? Not even on the conversation, not even on who the person is, what they look like, what I think their potential is. I just have to stick to my intention for the day.
That when you stick to your intention, and when you're in integrity with your intention, and you have permission to change your mind on your intention from moment to moment, because we all have free will, everything else is just the natural outcome of the intention that you set. You're going to find yourself in alignment or in misalignment to what you intend.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
The power of intention.
That's the power of intention.
Oh my
That's the power of intention. And it's interesting because it may not always unfold the way you've mapped it out in your mind, but it always unfolds. I mean, it always unfolds, usually, always, I would say, for the better than what you could have ever imagined. But you have to start somewhere.
Right, because like you said, 10 of them could say yes.
Of course.
And so now you've doubled your income for the week.
Ta-da!
And how happy and how much peace and how much joy will you have and how much better will you be able to sleep, you know?
So, and now you're talking about even more. Now we got a deeper intention. I intend peace today. Okay, so peace, based on this conversation, is taking into consideration, which means I'm open to receive, and I am receiving more income in my household because I intend peace. Peace also calibrates and brings in, even if fear comes up, I intend peace, then I open my mouth anyway. So the intention is I am peace. That's another intention that rolls all of that stuff up into your day.
Wow. Yes. And so I know you have written a book.
Yes.
Yay.
It's a guided journal called Intention. It should be, it's on pre-order right now. It should be released on Amazon, I believe, as early as next week. Well, as early as next week. So it's Intention, Command Your Day, 90 Days of Abundance and Manifestation.
Listen, y'all, just hearing what we've heard already, we know that God has called her to this, to guide us, to help us along the way. I'm saying, whatever you have to do, get this book so you can be guided. I mean, I'm just saying, everybody needs a little Keisha in their life some kind of way. Whether you're going to work with her one on one, whether
Thank you,
you're going to
Aly.
get the book and, take the principles that she's added there. So, what kind of things can we expect from the journal when we're going through?
Oh my gosh, expect miracles. The journal it's a practice that I've been doing. Well, I've been a journaler all of my life, but not always consistently. And after my son Chase transitioned in January 2020, I I'll share the whole story. After my son Chase transitioned in 2020, it was so unexpected, and of course I was grieving. And I had already been a coach, and I like everything that I'm saying. I truly believe, like I've embodied this. And as I was waking up the following morning after receiving the news, it was like I could hear the